What's up, Power Moms? I'm Kirsten Kirschbaum here with my little guy, Kyler. He's 3, and today I'm talking about how I have built this business from my home with my children as part of my lifestyle business. And super grateful for Melody Painter, who has invited me to share my story with you. And my intention really is that you will watch this and share it and feel like, as a mother whose primary goal is to stay home and to keep children fed and alive and happy, that your dreams of, creating a new lifestyle they don't have to die because you're a mom. And anyway, I thought it was pretty funny. Normally I would kind of have him taken care of with somebody else for me to do a live. And then I thought, you know what? I'm gonna keep it real. Like, a lot of times I have built this business with my kids in the background, or, wanting to be a part of the video. And I'll actually share a story of my older son who's been, it's amazing to see how your children learn from you and by watching your examples. So I'll tell that story in a minute, but actually I have to write myself a note to tell that story, because let's be honest, like, I won't remember. Okay, mom brain. All right, let's do this. So I was introduced to using essential oils actually through my children. That was the initial, hey Melody, that was the initial contact that was made, was just my friend sharing oils with me. Probably like a lot of you, maybe you've received some of those little, I call them the Barbie samples. They're just the little tiny ones, and I had 2 little boys at the time. They were ages 4 and 2, and they kept getting ear infections. And, as a mom, that's like super frustrating, of course. Aww. And feeling like I don't know how to take care of my kids. And like, I wasn't raised holistically. So my mom's amazing. I'm actually the oldest of 5 children, but she, we just were raised on like antibiotics and Costco, and, Costco before they started doing a lot of organic things, a lot of macaroni and cheese and canned soups. And, we were pretty healthy kids, so it wasn't a problem. But when I became a mother, I started to recognize that, I got to figure out how I'm going to raise my children, like what's important to me. How am I going to do this? And so when my friend shared essential oils with me, I thought they were weird, actually. I'm like, what are we going to are we going to dance around a tree now? Like a rain dance? Or, honestly, I kind of made fun of it. But she persisted and was kind and loving and just shared with me things that she thought were valuable as a mother. And I began to integrate those things slowly into my life with my family. And with their ear infections, that was a huge problem for us. We kept going to the doctor and getting on like multiple rounds of antibiotics that weren't really working. And that was frustrating, of course. And so I use the essential oils, and I use them around their ears and on their feet. And, I was really, really shocked when they worked so well. I felt like it was, there was probably something wrong. Like maybe I had been using so many antibiotics. I think I said this to my friend, well, it could have been the oils, or it could just be that there were so many antibiotics that I used that it eventually worked really well, right? So anyway, I didn't know exactly how they were going to work. But I felt empowered after I realized that it was the oils. I'm like, hey, maybe there's something to this. And so I decided then that I was going to take a lot more active approach in learning about health, just in general, about my children's health, about my health. And so I began to watch, different webinars. I began to listen to different doctors and professionals and other wellness advocates, and just started paying attention to what they were talking about. And I found that I was able to slowly integrate a lot of changes, things like buying organic milk and not microwaving plastic, and integrating an essential oil instead of Tylenol or ibuprofen, and then looking at like our emotions, and so just things like that. We just slowly started integrating it and upgrading our lifestyle, is what I like to call it. And when I started feeling a lot more empowered, what happened is I recognized that there were a lot of moms around me that were hurting, and they didn't know how to use oils, and they didn't know about a few of the things that I had been learning. And so I made it my goal to share with people that I really, really care about. And it wasn't for the intention of like, I'm going to build this business, I'm going to go big, I'm going to go diamond, all these things. I was just like, hey, I feel like a jerk if my kids are not having to go to the doctor and, take all these toxic chemicals all the time, and yours are, right? So it was a very organic, simple, beautiful transition into sharing oils. And I remember the first class that I hosted a wellness gathering for my friends, my upline, as we call them, our team leaders. And she came and taught this class for me and a couple of my friends. And I remember feeling nervous, like, oh, are they going to think I'm trying to sell them something? And, the truth is that way of thinking only applies when you're thinking about yourself, but when you're thinking about others and how it's going to benefit them and how it's going to help them with their children and their lifestyle, like, you quickly shift away from yourself. And so I looked at this as, I feel excited. My hair is so crazy today. Oh my gosh. I feel so excited. I feel excited when I help other people. And I feel when I'm empowered, then I want to empower others. And that has always been my motto. And I realized that if I could empower people better, then I would be serving people better. Right. And so I began to get intentional about how I was going to share wellness, how often I was going to share wellness, and the way that I was going to share wellness, right? How I was going to speak and present my message. And so that was like the very beginning. So something happened to me. In the beginning, my why was pretty soft. My why, when I say why, I mean like just my general, why do I want to do this? It was very much like, oh, I want to help other people and I want to help moms and this is fun, right? And my husband at the time, he had a very successful online marketing company. And so I actually got pregnant with our third child and was not really needing I didn't need a lot of money. I wasn't really in it for like the income. It was a fun thing where I could like buy myself some new shoes or take my girlfriends to lunch or something, fun things like that. But it wasn't paying for like my basic needs, food, shelter, that sort of thing. And my husband's business, about 8 years ago is when this happened. So I've been using essential oils for about 9.5 years. So about 1.5 years into sharing and just being a part of the oil community, my husband's business completely fell apart. And we found ourselves broke, like dead broke, like borrowing money from family. Actually couldn't afford to pay our mortgage anymore. This is when I'm pregnant with number 3. That time super sucked. Okay. Like not only pregnant with number 3 with 2 little kids, like the whole thing. And suddenly we had to move out of our home in Las Vegas that we had built up together and remodeled and, made it our happy home. We had to move out of that home because we couldn't afford to pay the mortgage anymore. And it was the most frustrating, humbling, angering experience ever. I was so mad, you guys. Like I wasn't mad at my husband because I know he didn't actually do anything to make it happen, but I was just very angry at the situation. And I couldn't even talk to him very much. Not to mention I'm crazy and pregnant, which, is enough, but it was just awful. And there was a moment where I remember one of my team leaders and I had this tribe around me, right? I wasn't alone. I had all these women that had been loving on me with oils and inspiration, probably like a lot of you, just enjoying being a part of the community. But there came a point where suddenly I had no income. It was do or die. So here are my options, right? Move back in with my parents, which we did do. We moved in with Kyle's parents to start over. Had to do that. Go back to school to get another degree, go try to find a job that would pay enough to pay for the daycare for the 3 kids and all of that, right? And my husband is just he's a natural entrepreneur. So he did not want to get a job. He wanted to start another business, and I supported him in that. Here's what happens when you're doing Facebook Lives and your kids bring you Capri Sun garbage. You have to give it to them because then they'll scream. So Power Mom tip number 1, let them have what they want while you're working. Okay, that's real life right there. So he started another business that, you know, as you all know, I mean, starting a business it's not like you make a bunch of money in the beginning, you know? So we were just really, really struggling. And my friends and team leaders came to me in doTERRA and they said, you know what, Kirsten, we know that you can do this. You've already been sharing, you already love the products. We want to mentor you and guide you like the step-by-step, like exactly how you're going to build this business, and whatever you want to create, you can create with doTERRA. And truthfully, I was in such a bad place at that time that like, I just was like, whatever, like, okay. I wasn't like, yeah, doTERRA's the answer. I've been looking, I didn't know that doTERRA was the 100% answer. How could I have possibly known that? It was still pretty new. I mean, this whole thing could have been like a big, I don't know, Ponzi scheme or something. Like, you know, I didn't know. doTERRA hadn't been around for 10 years already when I started, to where I would know for sure that these are people that I could trust and build my entire life around. So there was a leap of faith, just like, you know, so I want to paint that picture for you as a new, you know, person looking at this opportunity, like, hey, you're not supposed to know for sure that it's going to work for you. Like you don't get the privilege of knowing that, right? You get the privilege of knowing what you're capable of and what you truly desire out of life. And I can promise you 100% that this opportunity, if you work it, if you want it, will create everything that you want to create in your life. So moving forward, I took their advice, I took their programs and all the business skills, and I absorbed all of it, and I said yes to it. I'm like, absolutely, I will stay consistent. Not for, I'll stay consistent for 6 months and see how it goes. Not for, I'll stay consistent for, I'll give it a year. No, I'll give it however long it takes to make it happen, because that's what entrepreneurs do. That's what I do as a mom, right? Like, it's not like I'm like, oh, this kid, well, he's, you know, I'll give him a couple years. Like, no, when you are in business and you decide to build it and you actually want to create the life of your dreams, you're all in, like 1,000%, you're all in. I coach a lot of moms now who have trouble navigating between the, I want to be a really good mom, but I do have these goals and aspirations of like bringing my husband home from work, or keeping my husband at work, but having my own money that I get to spend on whatever I want, right? And that requires that you understand that your business, when you're ready to take that plunge, right? You can still hang out and be a part of the community and use oils and like learn and all that, right? But when you're ready, like if you want to make money and you want to make a lot of it, see, my goal was I'm going to move back into my house in Las Vegas. Like my goal was I have to make $10,000 a month, like to replace the income that my husband's business had, right? So I started when I was ready to go business, I was like way high. Like I'm reaching for the stars, like, you know, that's not how every mom gets started. So I don't want that to like discourage you. You can definitely make, you know, $200 to $500, maybe $800 a month doing this part-time, sharing with girlfriends, like just kind of casually, consistently sharing oils. But that's not what I chose to do. And that's not why Melody asked me to present to you today. So I will tell you that I chose to go all in 1,000%, because my why was I've got to get back to this house that I was just forced to move out of. So we were able to find some renters that moved into our home and they paid our mortgage, right? So that was nice. So we moved to Utah, actually moved out of state, totally away from Vegas. And I didn't love that. I didn't love being out of my comfort zone in a place that gets super cold and all of those things, but it was a reason for me to keep going and to build this business. So I followed the step-by-step process that Melody teaches, that many of the leaders that invited you to listen to this teach. And it really consisted of two things. So as a mom, you don't get like the opportunity to not have like a 3-year-old in the background, like stomping his feet. You know what I mean? Like that's how you roll. Like it doesn't ever, they never go away. It's the craziest thing. Anyway, so there's two things, okay, that I could offer you as advice that I feel like really, really set me up for success. Number one, I realized that my mind, like the current neural pathways that existed in my brain, were not wired for entrepreneurial success. I didn't know how to think. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know when to think it. I didn't understand. So I had to commit to get better. And the way that I did that was I listened to daily affirmations. And the ones that I listened to were like some guy that created them that now when I go back and listen to them, I'm like, oh, those are weird. Since then, I've actually created new affirmations that I offer for free. So if you go to my website, not today, it's still in the process of like getting upgraded, but on powermomempire.com, that's like my way of giving back to like all the moms that are building businesses. I have a affirmation sequence that you can download and just listen to it. So my advice is if you want to get started with that today, you can send me a message and I'll send them to you because they're not on my website right now. Or you can just like find other affirmations. You know what I mean? Like they're just free. Like just find affirmations. And the key is you have to listen to them daily. It has to like, you're literally like taking a jackhammer in your mom brain and you're chiseling up all of the gunk and the belief systems that have led you to where you are now. You got to like back up from those belief systems and start fresh. So those affirmations, talking to yourself about where you're at in your life right now, how you're going to be, what it looks like, what you believe, what you attract, the type of people you attract, the amount of money that you're creating, all of that is super, super important. Yeah, Melody says, I made a CD for everybody and I sent it to you all. I'm like, this is what I'm listening to. This is what's going on in my brain right now. Let's learn this together. So that was number one. I understand though, okay, in your mom brain right now, you're like, well, okay, I got to get like, there's so many steps, like, and I'm going to get interrupted because I'm either going to have to nurse a baby or make Johnny a sandwich or deal with little Susie's tantrum and then go pick up the other kids from school. Like, you have to download it, have it on your phone, and have your headphone in one ear while you're like functioning as a mom in the other, right? Or you got to like go to the bathroom and like listen to your affirmations like while you have a moment, you know, in between things. Or maybe while you're watching a show with your child. I used to turn on Shrek all the time. That's how I raised my oldest child, was watching Shrek. But you know, you understand what I'm saying. Like you're listening to the affirmations every day without fail. Like I would sometimes forget to listen to them. And because I was so committed, by the time I would jump in bed at night, I'd be like, oh crap, I didn't listen to it. And I don't know where my headphones are. I'm not going to get out of bed and go find my headphones. So I just laid my phone like this. I just laid my phone on my ear in my bed and I'm just like falling asleep. But I was committed to listening to them. Okay. So that's number one. Number two was I got really clear about my schedule. Like I understand that I am a mom and I want to be a mom and I want to be a really good mom, right? So there's two options I have for my schedule. Number one is functioning as a business owner while I'm taking care of the baby, right? Meaning I've got my phone when I have ideas, like as I'm making food or I'm, watching a show or going to the park or playing with toys. Yeah. He's like, you're talking about your phone. Here you go. Take the phone. I am multitasking. So I call this like power punching actually. So there are moments where I am, integrated in the day with my kids most of the time. But what I find is that oftentimes like the best ideas, the most inspiration, the people that you're meant to talk to or inspire, those names come to you when you're not thinking about working. Like you're just thinking about being with your kids. And so when those flashes of inspiration come to me, I just like I call it power punching, because I'm like, okay, hold on. I'm just going to punch this in my phone really quick so that I don't lose the thought. So I do one of two things on my phone. I either voice memo myself to listen to it later, or like if I'm driving or I don't want to feel like typing everything out, or I'll get the notes app on my phone and I'll just type real quick, just a couple of bullet points, so that later when I'm ready to take my all-in time, and I'll talk about that, then I'm able to actually make progress in my all-in time. Okay, so there's power punch time, and then there's all-in time. So for you as a stay-at-home mom to get an all-in day, it's going to require you to be persistent and creative. So if you have someone to help you with childcare, then good for you, right? If you can afford that, if you have someone come in a couple days a week, awesome. If you have family around town that's willing to help you for a couple hours, great. If you don't, then you're going to have to probably find another mom that like maybe you could switch with. Like, so one day you take her kiddos, the next day she takes yours, right? So maybe grabbing like one, and in the beginning, it's probably just going to be like one day a week that you're going to be able to do that, right? But eventually I would recommend doing 2. Currently I do 3 of those days. But that's me, where I'm at now, right? So in the beginning, just find one day that you can be an all-in day. And that day is where you look at your list of important things that you have felt inspired to do, and you do them. Now, your all-in day is not going to be I gotta like plan his doctor's appointments that day, or I gotta plan like my next vacation. No, like this is like your all-in like daily habits, like connecting with people, planning who you're gonna share oils with, planning your next class, like who's gonna host the class, where's the class gonna be, spending about, I would say 10% of your day on like creating maybe flyers and like passing out that information so that people know, promoting your stuff. Most of the day is spent making new connections and following up. So that's like having conversations. And you know what I love about this business is that my job is to genuinely connect with people. One of my best friends, Danielle, she's a blue diamond on my team now. She's a huge leg. She's getting her doctorate in psychology. She's amazing. She often talks about how when I was first building my business, it was my job to reach out to her, right? And I love her. We went to college together, so I want to talk to her. It's not like it's like annoying that I have to reach out to my friend, but it was part of my daily habits, right? To reach out to new people and to old friends and all of that, to genuinely bring value into their lives. And that's what I did. And as I've done that from my heart, not from like I got to sell you a bunch of oils place, but like I genuinely care about what's going on with you. How can I serve you? That is how I have built this business. So let me go back to the story of, I moved to Utah and I had this drive, this why, to get back to my home in Las Vegas, this dream home that my husband and I had created together. And I am happy to say that with consistent work of following the daily habits and really tapping into like divine intervention with like prayer and meditation, and I give credit to God where that credit is due, of course, I was able to move our family back home to Las Vegas within 2 years, almost exactly 2 years to the day. And yes, I do mean that $10,000 a month paycheck residually coming in, where I'm still home with my kids, right? It's not like I had to go get a job to do that. I was like working it and created that residual income within our team. Super, super grateful for many of you who are a part of that. And the support that comes with our team and all the love that we share with each other. I am completely just blown away by the support and how we get to pour into each other, right? Into each other's lives. And it's just an incredible blessing. There's nothing like this opportunity anywhere in the world. So the story doesn't end there, because once I got back to Las Vegas, that was my big thing, right? And then once I got back there, I found myself kind of like, okay, like, I've got 3 kids. Oh, by the way, I got pregnant again. So I'm pregnant with number 4 by this time. Yes, I was going for the girl, if you're wondering. I never got her. That's okay. I was back in Las Vegas and I, was making a good income. My husband is, home from work, and we're actively building our doTERRA business within our community and helping other people to achieve their goals and having a ton of fun with that. And I began to feel like there was something else. And I'm like, geez, like when is enough enough, you know? And here's the thing, enough is enough, right? Until you have that spark in your heart where you know there's more. And I believe that this life is all about progressing. Like I mentor now with an amazing man by the name of John C. Maxwell. He's only sold like 30 million books, no big deal. And he taught me something that I really didn't like it when he taught this to me, but I realized he told me, you know what, Kirsten, there's no finish line. Actually. And he's like a 70-year-old man telling me that there's no finish line. I'm like, dang it. As a mom, like you kind of want to know that there's a finish line. Like, you know, the finish line at the end of the day where you're like, okay, cool. I got them all in bed. Like now I can, you know, have my mom time. Like that feels like a finish line, right? So in your business, there will be times when you arrive and you celebrate and you get your why, and then you will continue to evolve. And so that's where I'm at now. So what I have discovered is that as I continue helping other people get to those next ranks, those next levels that they want to achieve, my vision for what's possible expands. And so as I was at home in Las Vegas for a couple of years, I began to see that there was more for us. And I had a dream. I used to live in Hawaii when I was 18. It was actually the first place I ever moved when I was, you know, moving out of my parents' home. And I began to have this vision of moving my family to Hawaii. And of course, within that 2 years of living back in Las Vegas, I got pregnant with number 5. Okay, so now going on 5 kids, I needed to raise them somewhere that was like I could go throw them in the ocean and that would be easy, right? So there was a lot of reasons why I wanted to move here, but it was such a big dream. It was going to require every dollar that I had, every ounce of energy and drive, and leaving, you know, the comfort of like being close to my family and just going and pursuing this dream and finding out what else was possible. And so my husband and I together saved every penny and every like ounce of like manifestation and actualization, and we were able to purchase our dream home here on the beach in Hawaii, that serves as this incredible retreat center and wonderful place for people to come and gather to feel inspired. And I told you I was going to tell that story about my son. So I have one of my sons now is almost 12, and he is in this incredible private school where they're teaching them Chinese and they're doing all these entrepreneurial activities and projects. And I saw him on his iPad speaking to this student in China. He wasn't speaking Chinese. He's not that good. Okay. But he was teaching them about who he is and what he does. And it was like the coolest thing because I had never seen him mimic me before. I had never seen, I could see my husband and I and like all of our business skills and our leadership qualities coming out in my son. He was speaking to his classmates confidently with energy and excitement for presenting, you know, his message and who he is. And the last thing I just want to share about this business is that it is a legacy building business. That it's not just about, you know, how much money you can make and how many people you can influence, but as a mom, I know that everything that I am doing and preaching and being and living is carrying over into my children. The skills that I learn are the most important skills that I could teach my children about leadership and communication and perseverance and consistency. Those are skills that they probably, you know, may or may not learn at school or in college. They're learning it from a very young age. And there is nothing better that you can do for your children than to have the very best natural remedies, that you can have the very best ways of becoming empowered in your home, and that you can live by example in showing your kids that anything is possible. This opportunity does that in the very, very best way that I have ever seen. So I hope you guys will take a look at it and really see how you can make space for it in your life. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time. I know as a mom, like to actually, I did 30 minutes today. Hopefully the moms at home are like, holy crap, this chick talked forever. I don't got 30 minutes. So you might have to go back and watch the ending if you got interrupted, which I know does happen as a mom at home. But again, thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to connecting with many of you very soon. Bye.